We are going to review academically gifted supports, which is part of the intentional planning document. Give me just a moment. I have so many tabs open. Here we go. And so this is the document that we're going to be reviewing, the academically gifted supports. The academically gifted supports is a very important part of considering your learner needs and knowing how to adapt a lesson plan to meet the needs of these special learners. So today we're going to look at the template itself. And of course, we're going to be looking at some of these resources to help you. So when you are looking at the intentional planning document, the academically gifted supports is going to be part of what we call the support resources. And so I just want to take a moment to talk about, what this means. Um, Academically gifted is a very important classification of students, of course, as all of our students are, but they do have very unique needs. And we're going to just review some vocabulary. First of all, differentiation should be part of every lesson plan that you give. So I'm not going to really dig deeply into distinguishing that piece of it, but differentiation essentially is the process of modifying instruction to meet the needs of all learners by varying the content, process, product, or learning environment. So, changing how or what you teach so each student gets what they need to succeed. That's what we're talking about with differentiation. Enrichment is a very important part of supporting academically gifted students. And this is instructional activities that go beyond the standard curriculum to deepen or broaden understanding. So essentially, learning more challenging or in-depth content when students are ready for more. Or, and when we say when you're ready for more, we're talking about the students here. And one of the reasons that we want to put that in student-friendly terms is we want to encourage our gifted students to become advocates for their own learning. Um, Acceleration is adjusting the pace of instruction to move students through curriculum at a faster pace or faster rate. So teaching those gifted students and helping them identify that learning faster or moving ahead when they're ready can be an important part of their learning. And then flexible grouping is another thing, the practice of grouping students based on learning needs. So this means from the student view, changing groups based on what they need or what they need help with, either what they're learning or what they need help with. And then, of course, higher order thinking, tasks that require analysis, evaluation, or creation instead of memorization or recall. So thinking hard and deep, solving problems or coming up with new ideas can be a very instrumental part of supporting gifted students. Gifted students often require more depth, complexity, and faster pacing than their peers. They may also crave independence, creativity, and challenge. So, our goal is not to give them more work, but better work, more precise work that's going to meet their specific needs. So designing learning experiences that align with their readiness, with their interests, and with their abilities. And so that's why these definitions are so important. You're going to see them repeated over and over again when we talk about gifted students, differentiating the work for them based on their readiness, interest, or abilities. And of course, we can do that through enrichment, we can do that through acceleration, and we can also do that through, of course, the way that we group the students, how we are putting them. And this is when we're thinking about not only just a group of academically gifted students, but when they are also integrated in a whole class setting with students who may not be academically gifted, how we can strategically put them in groups that are either going to match the pace that they are at, or perhaps put them with those who may not be quite at their pace, depending on what we're trying to tap in and teach those students in that specific space. So let's go ahead and begin. As I said, we identified some of these core vocabulary. Now let's go ahead and look at some of the resources that we selected to support your learning and understanding of these students. So I just selected three that I thought were going to be meaningful when you're designing a lesson. One is the National Association of Gifted Children. These are specific strategies, and I really like this because it's broken down for you so that you can understand each one of them. We talked a little bit about these, but then if you need any additional help, every single one of these has an extension here. It's going to be highlighted right in this pink writing, but there's a justification for why gifted programs are needed, why they're important for our students and for their outcomes, what acceleration actually means and looks like, curriculum compacting, what that means. And this, of course, means that we're condensing or we're modifying. This is a type of differentiation. What they already know. And so it allows them. So for example, if students have a long review section in math before they jump into the new content, a gifted student really may not need as much time reviewing that content as other students do. And so it's compacting that review time so that they can get to some of the more challenging problems. We talked a little bit about grouping here, those flexible grouping strategies. This goes a little bit more into that. And then there are a couple more terms that you might be interested in. And this is about the programming itself. How are students identified? What types of programs are there? And then how are teachers trained? And so these are just some extras, not necessarily something that you would need for your intentional planning document, but kind of like for your own interest, if you're interested in it. And of course, if you are interested in gifted education or perhaps becoming a gifted teacher, how to become certified to teach gifted students, please make sure that you reach out to Dr. Lori Benoit at McNeese State University. I'm the one speaking to you, and I can help you learn more about that process. So just giving a little plug here for our program. And then the Tomlinson resource is excellent. Tomlinson is kind of the guru on differentiation. And this is a wonderful resource that just kind of supports the gifted students here. Oh, well, this one's not coming up. I'll make sure to go back and fix this one. But it's just a great resource that shows what the differentiated classroom is like. This is probably another resource that you're going to see when we talk about differentiation. But then the last one I also think is really good is this recommendations for teaching gifted students. And this one, of course, just like the NAGC one, gives some very practical strategies. So I think that this one is really great for helping you understand how to be flexible with the curriculum with these students. So making sure that they're actually meeting the objectives, but also adapting it to meet their needs. And of course, you can read through this, teach interactively, explore many points of view for contemporary topics, consider team teaching, perhaps collaboration, involve students in academic contests, games, things like that. So there are a lot of different things on this list that could give you some quick ideas about how you can modify a lesson plan to meet gifted students' needs. All right, and I will go back and make sure that this one is working as well. I'm not really sure. It was just working, so we'll see. All right, and now we are going to look at a few of our templates that we've personally created to support you. And right here where it says video overview, that's where you're going to see the link of this video. And so I actually put where it says visual examples, I just kind of put some of these bullets down below for you. These are some takeaways. So you are expected to demonstrate how instruction can be enriched, accelerated, or differentiated to challenge academically gifted students. provide the annotated lesson plan showing how flexible grouping or independent study can be embedded into instruction, justifying adaptations using your academic vocabulary, and then reflecting awareness of gifted students' need for complexity, choice, and challenge. So these are some things that you want to be thinking about as you are modifying that lesson plan to meet gifted students' needs. How am I demonstrating that I'm doing all or some of these things with the choices that I'm making? So you might not use, for example, you might not use flexible grouping with every lesson plan, but I'm kind of throwing these out as some potential look fors for yourself. These are some examples. So in addition to the resources that I provided, here are some examples that I want you to be thinking about. So for example, in the English language arts example, let's say that it's a ninth grade context. So the objective that the students are supposed to be learning is to analyze tone and theme in a literary text. So here are some adaptations that we could use for gifted learners. Students could choose an additional poem or short story from a curated advanced literature list. So for example, after we've taught them how to analyze tone and theme and maybe done a model, then we could let them select their own that now they're going to apply it to. Instead of a paragraph response, they could create a podcast episode analyzing both texts and comparing the author's stylistic choices. The assessment includes a rubric for higher order analysis and creative synthesis. So that's what, when we want to assess their work, we don't want to just, constantly make this something that doesn't have accountability, but it could include a rubric that would have some opportunities for that higher order analysis. So we've taught them using a model. Okay, now we're going to let them select their own poem or short story where they're going to now analyze the tone and theme. But instead of just doing maybe perhaps a paragraph, which is probably what they had to do for the model, now they can do a podcast. Or I've even had some do some super creative posters, making some poster comparisons, something maybe with a little bit more what we think of sometimes as that artistic flair, but giving them choice in how they are going to demonstrate their understanding. So we're making it a little bit more complex, giving them some choice, but we still want to hold them accountable. So I've also provided some examples here for science. This one, for example, is explaining the photosynthesis process. An adaptation for gifted learners. Students could design an experiment comparing light sources and plant growth, or analyze a scientific journal article on plant efficiency. And then their product adaptations could be some type of infographic, a lab report, or a student-led demonstration. So once they have the foundations of photosynthesis, let's give them some different types of opportunities to continue that study, enrich that study, expand it, and personalize it. So I've provided a math example here, and I've provided a social studies example as well, just to kind of walk you through how that could potentially be done for gifted students. So make sure you check these out. Additionally, I've given a lesson planning adaptation template. So once you feel like you've got your intentional planning document, and you feel like you've got it pretty well oiled out, make sure that you're including an opportunity for those gifted student learning needs. So here is some things to consider. Does it have an opportunity where you've actually even identified who might be gifted in the class, who has advanced readiness? Is there a need in that lesson plan for depth and complexity? Is there an opportunity for it? Is there an opportunity maybe for interest-based learning? So is this an opportunity where maybe my gifted student is, they're pretty solid on whatever the objective is. So now can I tap into some of their personal interest in expanding that learning opportunity? Is there an opportunity for some self-directed learning? So maybe a project-based learning opportunity. And then is there some acceleration potential here For example, if I'm teaching content that based on the pretest, they already know all of this, how have I compacted the curriculum to accelerate them to the more complex parts of it? And so there's an opportunity to briefly describe the identified needs of the gifted learners in the classroom, so that you then can know how to move forward here. This could be where you could speak about maybe some pretest, or even some observational data that you have on what those students' needs are. And then here is just an opportunity to kind of break down content, process, product, learning environment. What was the original plan and how can it be adapted for gifted students? Again, these are just some samples. And then we've got a few little areas here for you to kind of think out student choice or acceleration options, and then an assessment for learning. And this, again, don't forget, they still need some type of way, like, for example, definitely a pretest so that you knew what their readiness was. But when we modify the curriculum, we also want to hold them accountable for whatever alternative learning pathway we've given them as well. We also have a rubric that you can use to kind of check yourself. So when you get to the end of your lesson plan here, your intentional planning document, this is a way to kind of grade your own progress, score your readiness. So were any adaptations made? If not, then that might be an area that you can, I need more support here. I didn't even really look at my advanced learners. I didn't really look at those identified gifted learners at all. Some instructional adaptation. How did you adapt the instruction? Was there maybe nothing done at all? Or was it fully differentiated? There were some student voice, maybe some choice in what they were doing. I gave an opportunity for a more challenging assignment. And hey, I even gave some opportunities for enrichment in case there were some gifted students who were fast finishers or needed some enrichment. I provided that as well. So this is just a rubric, just to kind of give you an idea of where you're standing in meeting the needs of gifted learners. And the last thing I want to do is direct you to one of the annotated lesson plans that you have in your bank. This is the ELA ELA third grade 1. And if we look at this one, you can notice that this one has a very specific academically gifted adaptation in it. So let's see, the original activity required students to, and I'm over here to write, I'm highlighting in blue here, a simple statement answering this question in their own words. They just had to respond to a question. This adaptation is great because it's going to provide more challenge and some more enrichment, and also a little bit of student voice and choice with this one. So based on student demographic data, academically gifted, so this means that there was an academically gifted student or group of students in this class, I am differentiating process to meet the needs of students in relation to educational history. I will implement leveled tasks to ensure students are supported in achieving the learning objective by meeting all learners at their current academic levels. So here we have the adaptation. Academically gifted students will write their own figurative quote, so a figurative language quote. So they're going to come up with their own. That's what this lesson was about, to describe treasure and what it means to them for the sticky note parking lot rather than just writing a statement. So in this case, the students are actually creating their own figurative language quote. So when you dig into that annotated example, this will help you see how just in a very small way, this lesson could easily be adapted to meet the needs of gifted learners. And notice how it was integrated into the lesson plan. It was just put right here on the side, lesson adaptation 2E1, and it was connected to that that I will statement implement level tasks, and then how it met the needs of gifted students with the adaptation described. So I hope that this brief video helps you understand how you can meet the needs of gifted learners as you progress through your lesson planning in our Burton College of Education. You will become more and more proficient at it. And again, if you are interested in a gifted certification and teaching gifted students, please reach out to Dr. Lori Benoit. Thank you so much.